This is Histories and Mysteries Uncovered. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Jessica. And on this week's episode, Ashley is going to be telling us the story of Ryan Ferguson. And I am going to be telling everybody about the horrible crimes of Adolfo de Jesus Constanzo.
Oh, that
Yeah,
doesn't sound good.
no, he was awful.
Oh.
Spoiler alert, he dead now. He a baddie.
Oh, geez. Oh, geez. Well,
Yeah,
if you
no,
want to
he was.
hear more about baddies, you should join our Patreon at the $3 level we have. It's the only one we have called Smoked Ham. Um, and this month's bonus episode, we're going to be looking at some Am I the Asshole posts based on votes from our Patreon.
Yeah.
So when you join our Patreon, you get a lot of say in the stories we cover and what you want to hear. So head on over and check us out.
You also get a card and a sticker.
Oh yeah, you get a really cute sticker. I like
I
them.
don't even have a sticker yet.
I know I gotta mail them to you.
I need one.
You do need one. They're very cute. I want to get
Yeah.
like you were talking about getting car clings. I think
The
that'd be cute.
bumper stickers.
Yeah, but like the clings, not like you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, I was thinking about bumper stickers because then you could have like the QR code and then people could scan it.
Oh, true, true, true. I like window cling. I've got a Michigan window cling on my car right now. I love it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah, so head on over there if you would like to support us.
Okay, pause for a sec.
Another fun thing we're doing is we're going to start a promotion, and we will post all about it on our socials as well, Instagram and Facebook. But we're going to do a contest. So if you tag 3 friends in any of our social media posts, screenshot it and email it to us, or write us a review, screenshot it and email it to us, you will get an entry into the contest, and you can do up to 6 entries, right? Is that what we decided?
Sure.
6 entries, so one for the
I'm just
review.
along for the ride here.
So you can get 1 entry for the review, and then obviously you can only review us once. So that's 1 entry, and then for every 3 people that you tag in our social media posts, you can get another entry, up to a total of 6. And then what we will do is we'll put all of those entries in a bucket, and we'll pull out 3 names. The top prize will get a $25 Amazon gift card, a Histories and Mysteries coffee cup, and a Histories and Mysteries sticker. And the second prize will be a Histories and Mysteries coffee cup and a Histories and Mysteries sticker. And we'll do a third place where you get a Histories and Mysteries sticker.
Yay.
Yeah.
You can also rate us. So you can also, if you can't review on certain platforms, if you want to just rate us, you can send that to us as well.
Yeah, sorry, I was using rate and review interchangeably, but it's not.
Oh.
So, yes.
And then if you just share us with your friends.
Yeah, so we
Yeah.
will be starting that the Sunday that this comes out. So that will be Sunday the 16th. And we'll run that contest for until August 13th. I lied, until August 6th. So you'll have from July 16th through August 6th. And then on the 6th, that next week, the 13th, we will announce the winners.
I also just wanted to add one more thing to this contest.
Yeah.
If you want to send in a story or you join our Patreon,
Yes.
and those of you that have already joined our Patreon, you will get a single
free
entry.
Yes.
Yeah. So just a
Yeah, and
little bit more incentive.
yeah, so we'll put all this into a pretty little post, and we'll post it on social media. So if you're like, oh my gosh, how many ways can I enter? You can go there and check it out.
Yeah, we don't know either. So
So yeah, we'll make a social media post with all of the stipulations and ways to enter. So
Yay.
Yay.
So
All right.
exciting.
Yeah, very exciting. All right, so I'm going to start with my story on Ryan Ferguson. And I actually got this story from watching The Amazing Race. Jessica, have you ever watched that show?
So weird.
I know. I know.
Um, yeah, not like religiously. Like my go-to show with my mom when I was younger was Survivor.
Oh,
So
nice, nice.
yeah.
I love The Amazing Race. Love it. And I just pounded through the last season, 33. And
Oh
Ryan
my gosh.
Ferguson is in this season.
Oh
And
wow.
that's where I got this story from.
Okay.
So I got my sources from Columbia Daily Tribune, CBS News, Crime Museum, and Wikipedia.
Sorry. I know mine's all that's interesting, and yours is Wikipedia.
Which I hate because I used to be an educator and I always told my students do not use Wikipedia because it is not like,
Always accurate.
yeah, it's not always accurate. And so you can't use them as a source. And then I use them all the time. But here's what I do, right? So I read from one site something about it, and then I go to Wikipedia because they always have like a really good timeline. So I get the timeline from Wikipedia, but I get the stuff from the other sources, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Halloween 2001. A sports editor for the Columbia Daily Tribune in Missouri, Kent Heitholt, was found beaten and strangled after an attempted robbery in the parking lot outside of his office. Kent was known to his friends as Heidi, because his last name's, or sorry, it's probably Heidi. His last name's Heitholt, so it's probably Heidi. So he was known to his friends as Heidi, and they described him as easygoing and a mentor to his sports writing staff. They said that for his writers who were skilled, he would take a hands off approach, and for those who needed more guidance, he would guide. They also called him the gentle giant.
Oh, see,
I
that's
love it.
cuter.
I know. So Kent was working late on a basketball story on the night he was murdered, and he left the office a bit after 2 a.m. At around 2:30 a.m., Jerry Trump and Shauna Ornt, who were janitors of the office, saw two people standing near Kent's car and called the police. Jerry Trump said that he couldn't make out who was by the car, but Shauna Ornt said she could and was able to give the police enough evidence or enough description to create a composite sketch. At this point, Shauna was the sole witness to the crime. She said that it was two white men and they ran off. The janitors did report that one man yelled, "Someone's hurt out here, man," before both running away to a nearby alley. At the scene, police found two bloody pairs of footprints, fingerprints, and a strand of hair. They saw that Kent had multiple head injuries and was strangled with his own belt, which at some point snapped.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah.
What I also, you know, kind of knowing what I know about the story, because you kind of told me, and it just seems like it's really suspicious that specific things were left.
Mm.
Like,
Mm.
like it just seems like somebody was trying to set somebody up. Eh,
They
eh.
did. They didn't do a very good job of it.
All right.
So they were able to recover the buckle of the belt and part of the belt, but the rest of the belt was never recovered. 2 years went by and
Oh,
nothing was solved.
oh wow. Okay. Yeah, they didn't do a great job, did they?
The same night that Kent was murdered, so Halloween 2001, two 17-year-old high school boys were out partying. They went to a few Halloween parties and then they continued to drink at a local bar, which, yes, they were 17. Apparently, they knew the bouncer who let them in to drink. And Jessica, if you're thinking, oh, that's 17, blah, blah, blah. Don't forget that the American drinking age is 21. So that's
Oh
quite young.
yeah. Ours is 18.
I know. So that's why I was like, well, if you hear 17, you're probably like, oh, yeah, it's not that big of a deal. But yeah, ours is 21. So that's quite young to be out drinking at a bar. Anywho, one of the boys, Chuck Erickson, partied a little too hard. He had cocaine, Adderall, and alcohol in his
Oh
system.
shit.
Yeah.
That's not good because even mixing marijuana with alcohol is a really bad idea.
Yeah, he blacked out. So,
Yeah, that's not surprising.
yeah, yeah. And as the murder started to make the news, and as these kind of 2 years went by, um, it kind of drifted away. But for some reason, at around the 2 year mark, it came back up in the news. Some reporter decided to cover it again, see if, anything new could come of this information. And when Chuck saw this new report on it, he started to have dreams about the murder.
Mm.
These dreams scared him because he couldn't remember what had happened that night. He had blacked out, remember? And he was starting to dream about this murder. And he started to question things like, what happened? What, I don't know. And I'm having these dreams. I'm remembering these things. But when he was asked whether or not anything was unusual on his clothes, like blood, or if he had any injuries, he didn't. But he went to his buddy Ryan Ferguson, who he had been out with that night, and asked if they had done anything bad. Like, I'm having dreams about these murders. Like, did we do anything? And Ryan said, "No, dude, no. We didn't fucking murder anybody. Like, what?" But then the sketch from Shauna was re-released and Chuck saw it and he thought that it looked like him. He's like, "Holy shit, that sketch looks like me." So he became even more scared and he started to talk to a few of his friends about it. And one friend decided to tell the police and they took Chuck in for questioning.
Uh-oh. That's not good.
Yeah. He said, quote, when they were asking him about it, "It's just so foggy. I could be sitting here fabricating all of it." Uh, they did ask what Kent had been strangled with. Chuck said he thought it was a shirt. Police were like, no, try again." And he was like, "Oh, maybe a bungee cord?" And they were like, "No, it was his belt." And Chuck said, "I don't remember that at all." And he did mention that he had been with his friend Ryan Ferguson. And he said that they had robbed Kent for drinking money. He said, "That's the only thing I can think of is why we would do this. I think we robbed him for drinking money."
Well, that's shitty.
So they took Ryan in for questioning as well. Ryan said that they had been drinking at a local bar until about 1:30 a.m. and then he drove Chuck home and he went home himself. And they ran all the evidence. The fingerprints they found at the scene did not on Kent's car did not match Ryan. They did not match Chuck. They did not match Kent. So they were somebody else's fingerprints. The footprints walking away from the car did not match Ryan. They did not match Chuck. And the hair did not match Ryan and did not match Chuck.
What?
Yeah,
What is happening?
nothing matched them, right? And the boys had no motive aside from the possibility of like a robbery gone wrong. But going on just Chuck's worry that he may have done something because he blacked out, and the fact that they were out that night until around that time, prosecution charged Chuck and Ryan with Kent's murder.
What?
Yeah,
How do you even do that when there's like nothing that
nothing,
matches?
nothing.
What the heck on a stick?
The only thing they had was Chuck's horrible confession that like didn't match anything they had. And he was just like, I think we robbed him for drinking money, but like nothing else I'm saying is correct.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, what in the world were they even thinking?
I have no idea how prosecution even had enough evidence to bring this to trial.
I don't get it.
I don't either. So Ryan was sticking his guns and saying, no, I didn't do this. But because Chuck had already confessed, the state offered Chuck a plea deal in exchange for testifying against Ryan.
Oh my God.
And he took it.
So I'm assuming they're not friends anymore.
Well, I would think not.
That's horrible.
Yeah. So
Like, how do you do that?
can you imagine if like one day I was like, Jessica, remember when you were here and we went out that night and I blacked out? Well, I'm having dreams that we murdered someone and I'm going to tell police that we did do it and then I'm going to testify against you.
I would kill you.
Right? Be like, what the hell? I'm just sitting here minding my business.
Okay, it's a joke, people.
Yeah.
I would, but like, I would be floored.
Can you imagine? And then for prosecution to have zero physical evidence against you, but are like, yeah, we're gonna move forward with this.
You're like,
What?
literally. Oh my
So
God.
Chuck took the stand to testify against Ryan. And suddenly he had information that he did not know in his interrogation.
Of course he did.
Also, Trump, the janitor who had originally said that he couldn't make out the men, suddenly decided he could make out the men and knew it was Ryan and Chuck.
No. This sounds like, what is the word I'm trying to think of? Bribery.
Bribery.
Yeah.
Or coercion.
That's it. That'll vary a long day.
Trump the janitor. I keep saying Trump the janitor because I don't want people to think I'm talking about Donald Trump.
Yeah. I was a little confused there too.
Said that while he was on jail on unrelated charges, his wife sent him a news article about the crime. He claimed that as he removed the newspaper from the envelope, he saw the photos of Chuck and Ryan and immediately recognized them as the two men standing over Kent on the evening of the murder.
I have no words.
And that was it. That was prosecution's case. That was all they had. Two witnesses who at first didn't know anything and now did, and zero physical evidence. In fact, the physical evidence they did have did not match the two boys.
Ridiculous.
And for some reason, it was enough. And at the age of 19, Ryan Ferguson was convicted of second-degree murder and robbery and sentenced to 40 years in prison.
What?
Can you imagine?
No. And his friend got off like scotch-free.
No, he got
Scot-free?
scot-free.
Scotch.
Like the tape. Or the cookies. No, he got 25 years for his plea deal.
What a donkey, like, honestly.
Yeah. So obviously this was all bullshit. And Ryan's case was noticed by a Chicago attorney by the name of Kathleen Zellner in 2009. So Ryan had already been in jail for a few years at this point, but she noticed the case and she took it pro bono.
Good.
And so she started kind of looking into the case more. And in 2012, both Chuck and Trump the janitor recanted their trial testimony to Kathleen and admitted that they had lied at Ryan's trial. Chuck said that the prosecutor at the time, Kevin Crane, had pressured him into implicating Ryan. Trump said that he had also been pressured by prosecutor Kevin Crane into testifying, and even said that he had first seen the newspaper photos in 2004 at the prosecutor's office after he was released from prison. So that bogus story about how he got the newspaper from his wife in prison and saw the pictures was a lie. He said that Kevin Crane often would say, "I've got the right two guys." He's like, it was almost like a cheer for him. He also said that Kevin Crane showed him a Tribune newspaper with Ryan's photo and that Kevin Crane mentioned that it would be helpful for Trump to identify Ferguson as having been at the crime scene.
Okay, does this Kevin Crane get thrown in jail?
I will tell you that at the end.
No,
Yes.
bitch.
You have to wait.
Heckin' rude.
So Kathleen's law partner, Douglas Johnson, also found out that during an interview with Trump's wife, she had actually told police that she didn't remember sending her husband any newspapers in jail. But this interview was never disclosed to the defense team. So Kathleen filed an original writ of habeas corpus, which I've heard the term, but I didn't know what it was. So I looked it up for everybody. It is a quote recourse in law through which a person can report an unlawful detention or imprisonment to a court and request that the court order the custodian of the person, usually a prison official, to bring the prisoner to court to determine whether the detention is lawful. And she also filed a Brady violation, which is basically withholding evidence. So in court, any evidence that is found by investigation has to be given to both the prosecution and the defense team.
The story is making me angry.
Yeah. Apparently, Shauna Ornt, who was that other janitor that was there and was the sole witness of the crime, testified that she had told Kevin Crane, the prosecutor, that the man she saw the night of the murder was not Ryan Ferguson, and that Kevin Crane had tried to get her to implicate Ferguson repeatedly and even became threatening during their last conversation.
Wow.
And she was never called to testify in the original trial. And this interview was withheld from the original defense.
Of course, because she's a woman.
Well, I think it was because it hurt the
I
prosecution's
know, I'm
case.
just being
Okay.
just angry.
Just angry at life. It was also withheld that Erickson, which is Chuck, had testified at Ryan's original trial following the murder that he had testified that he and Ryan returned to the bar about 2:45 a.m. and were admitted by the same bouncer, Mike Shook, who had admitted them earlier. Chuck claimed on the stand that he and Ryan had left the bar between 4 and 4:30. However, Shook testified at the bar that the bar had closed at 1:30 that morning, and bar patron Kim Bennett testified that Chuck and Ryan departed between 1:15 and 1:30, disproving Chuck's claims that they had returned to the bar following the murder.
So did Chuck do it?
I don't think so. I think
Oh, so they don't find out who does it? Oh, that's rude. Okay.
based on this and habeas corpus petition, Ryan Ferguson's conviction was vacated in November of 2013 after 9 years behind bars. In 2014, Ryan filed a civil suit against 11 people, as well as Boone County, Missouri, and the city of Columbia. The suit alleged suppression of exculpatory evidence, fabrication of evidence, reckless or intentional failure to investigate, malicious prosecution, conspiracy to deprive constitutional rights, false arrest, and defamation. And the suit also claimed that after Ryan Ferguson's release, former prosecutor Kevin Crane and former Columbia Police Chief Randy Boehm harmed Ferguson by continuing to make statements about his guilt.
Wow.
In a July 2017 settlement hearing, a judge awarded Ryan $11 million.
Whoa.
$1 million for each year that he had spent in prison and $1 million for legal expenses. So I guess at this point he had spent like technically 10 years. In the hearing, attorneys for the city compared the settlement to an Alford plea, which is not admitting liability, but admitting enough evidence exists that they would likely lose in court. Charles or Chuck Erickson, who received 25 years in prison for his plea deal, basically served out his time. He was paroled in January of 2023, so this past January, after serving 18 years.
Wow.
Before he was paroled, though, he was still serving in prison when Ryan was released, and Ryan vowed to help Chuck be released from prison. Ryan said, "There are more innocent people in prison, including Erickson. I know that he was used and manipulated, and I kind of feel sorry for the guy. He needs help, he needs support. He doesn't belong in prison." Ryan's
Wow.
family also offered $10,000 reward for any tips that may solve the case. Uh, while in prison, Ryan began devoting his time to fitness and health, and he became a certified personal trainer. His dad had said to him, "I know you're innocent, but while you're in there, I can't protect you. You have to do everything you can to make yourself stronger, faster, and smarter to survive." So Ryan began exercising and lifting weights in prison, which is what led to his um, personal training certification. In April of 2016, it was announced that Ryan would host an MTV series entitled Unlocking the Truth. It was going to be a serialized documentary following other cases of possible wrongful conviction. And in 2022, Ryan was a contestant on The Amazing Race.
That's so cool.
Yeah. With his friend Dusty Harris. I'm not going to tell you where he placed in case you guys all want to go and run and watch Amazing Race, but he went pretty far, so you'll see a lot of them in it. As for Kent Heitholt and his family, they still don't have any answers. His case is considered cleared because they did arrest 2 people for it, but it is not solved. Hopefully one day the family will get some closure. There are some, like, there's a Facebook page for Justice for Kent Heitholt, but it looks like it hasn't been posted in since like 2021.
Mm-mm.
And the Twitter looks like it hasn't been posted since 2019. And the last news I heard from the police was in 2013. It said they were considering reopening the case, but I mean, I couldn't find anything about them doing that. And as for your question, prosecutor Kevin Crane, not only did he not lose his job, he is now a judge. He is a circuit court judge for Division 3 of the 13th Circuit Court in Missouri. He was elected to this position in 2006 and reelected in 2012 and 2018.
I hate people.
And he is currently a judge.
I hate how nasty, manipulative, deceitful people get ahead in life.
I know. I know.
If you're listening, Kevin, you're
A
a
jerk.
crow. You're a jerk face.
So that is the story of the wrongful conviction of Ryan Ferguson. But doesn't that terrify you that you can get arrested and convicted and sentenced to 40 years in prison over nothing?
Yeah,
That's terrifying.
that's wild. Like, were there no cameras? Like, I just don't get it.
I mean, this was back early 2000,
Yeah,
2001.
cameras have existed forever.
Well, I know, but it's not like they were like as technological and camera heavy as we are today, you know?
I guess. But still, like,
Yeah.
that is terrifying.
Yeah.
So if Ashley ever accuses me of anything, you guys know that she's lying.
I'm gonna start having dreams. I think probably what happened is this poor kid, he's 17, 18, 19 at this time. He obviously has been doing cocaine and alcohol together. You know, he's probably like his brain isn't in the best shape. And he hears about this murder. He's probably heard about it in the news for 2 years now in the background, not like super paying attention to it. And it just seeped into his subconscious and he started having dreams about it. And for
Yeah.
some reason, he believed that he was possibly capable of this and just kind of fabricated everything in his head and then was just taken advantage of by these adult detectives.
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
terrible.
it's awful.
Oh boy. Thank you.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
Interesting how because like we get asked how we come up with our stories, and it's interesting how like something like The Amazing Race
I know. It was
brings
like
about a story.
they were talking, they talk about like in the beginning, they tell you all the, contestants, stuff like that. And they're like, and Ryan Ferguson, who was wrongly convicted and spent 10 years in prison for a murder he didn't commit. And I was like, what? Let's look
Right
him
up my
up.
alley.
Let's look at this.
Well, I'm glad that he finally got justice.
Yeah, and it looks like he's doing a lot. I mean, he was on The Amazing Race, which is like a once in a lifetime type of thing, So,
Yeah,
um, hopefully he's living it up.
good. I'm
Yeah.
glad.
Yeah.
So now, after that uplifting story,
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
I'm going to bring you down.
Yes.
All the way down. Okay.
We can't get too high here.
Guys, this story is awful. So, in 1962, Adolfo. Okay, you know what? I want to preface this
Okay, you know what?
that I looked up pronunciations. They were too difficult for me to understand. So, I'm going to do my very best. So, I'm so sorry if I don't do it to your standards.
My standards?
Yeah. Oh,
I
uno
have no
momento.
standards.
Pause. Yes, your standard.
Oh gosh, I have no standards, so you're fine.
So I used Murderpedia and all that's interesting, of course. But yeah, so I'm gonna do my very best. I'm gonna butcher it, but I'm gonna try. I did try. Okay. It's always that one, it was that one review that always gets to me that like they say that, we don't do our research to like learn how to pronounce things. It's like, you
Oh,
know
we did
what?
have one review
Yeah.
and it said that they didn't like how we don't pronounce things correctly. And ever since, Jessica cannot shake that review.
It's literally so stressful because I look, I try so hard. Sometimes it's just too difficult, okay? So, with that being said, in 1962, Adolfo Constanzo was born in Miami. His mother, who was a Cuban immigrant who had recently been widowed, took her child with her to Puerto Rico, where she wed her second husband before returning with the family to Miami in 1972, so 10 years later.
I think I may have heard this story, but continue.
Okay.
If it's what I think it is quite awful.
She had no idea that her young son would eventually become a drug lord and cult leader who committed mass murder.
Oh, nope, not what I was thinking of. Okay.
Okay. Although Adolfo was baptized in the Roman Catholic tradition, like most other immigrants in the little Havana neighborhood where he lived, weird rumors began circulating about him and his family. According to local lore, his mother and grandmother were both priestesses in the Santeria faith, which was a popular form of Afro-Cuban and Catholicism in the Caribbean.
Hmm.
Adolfo started working as a sorcerer's apprentice when he was 14 years old. The sorcerer had become wealthy from his connections with the superstitious drug traffickers in the area. This story is wild. Adolfo allegedly learned about Palo Mayombe, the sinister side of Santeria, from this sorcerer.
Hmm.
His neighbors soon started discovering small dead animals on their doorsteps.
Oh gosh.
Adolfo's attractiveness drew him to Mexico City for modeling jobs after he spent his teenage years learning magic and getting into trouble for theft. There, he initially found his occult disciples.
Okay, when you say magic,
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're not talking like, let me pull this rabbit out of a hat.
No.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Just making sure.
Imagine.
Here's some flowers from my sleeve. Why can't it ever be that kind of magic with these evil
Right?
guys?
No, it is like 10 times worse.
Oh, great. Also, you said he was very handsome.
Yeah.
Did you look him up?
Uh, yes, but I didn't really look at him too much. I don't like looking at evil.
Yeah, yeah, I gotcha. I gotcha. What was his name? Adolfo.
Adolfo
Oh, I
Constanzo.
found him. Okay, let me see. Oh, no,
Yeah.
no. Okay, go ahead. Not handsome.
His earliest lovers and followers were Jorge Montes and Martin Quintana, who were drawn to him by both his intense charisma and their interest in the occult.
Hmm.
In Mexico City's gay district, the Zona Rosa, where he performed tarot card readings, Adolfo would take advantage of these contradictory qualities and entice many of his other disciples. In 1984, Adolfo relocated permanently to Mexico City, where he began to build a name for himself as a remarkable padrino there.
A what?
A padrino? I don't know what it is.
Oh, okay.
I was confused the whole time. Okay, I guess I should look this.
I was confused the whole time. Oh gosh.
um, oh, um, oh, a godfather, a person's protector, patron.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
I was confused the whole time. Oh, Jessica.
Mexican drug dealers offered the ideal opportunity for Adolfo to prey on superstition and bloodlust. In exchange for payments of up to $4,500, he would perform rituals that included animal sacrifices that he swore would protect the dealers during their illegal activities.
Hmm.
Adolfo's diary later detailed the precise sums clients paid for each animal. In his menu of sacrificed animals, Adolfo specified prices for roosters at $6, goats at 30, boa constrictors were
Oh
$450,
wow. Gotcha.
mature zebras were $1,100,
Oh what?
and African lion cubs were $3,100.
Oh, did anybody ever get an African lion cub?
I don't
Ew.
know. One illustrious dealer ran up a $40,000 tab with Adolfo over the course of 3 years. The sorcerer needed to put on more dazzling displays to please his increasingly impressive clientele, which included not only powerful cartel bosses, but also fashion models, nightclub performers, and a few federal police officers.
Oh my gosh.
Adolfo's new employment seemed most unusual at first because of the attraction he seemed to have for high ranking law enforcement officials. One of them being Salvador Garcia, who was a commander in charge of drug investigations,
Oh
and
no.
another, Florentino Ventura, who was retired from the Federals to head the Mexican section of Interpol.
Oh my.
And they were on his side.
Wow.
And at least 4 members of the federal judicial police joined the Constanzo cult in Mexico City.
Wow. I mean, I know that like the Mexican city police are pretty corrupt, but I didn't know they were like that
Yeah, like federal.
bad. Yeah.
Adolfo orchestrated his own schemes. He once pretended, this is ridiculous. He once pretended to be a DEA agent to rob a Guadalajara cocaine dealer. Then he sold the haul to the police for a cool $100,000.
Oh my gosh. I mean, that's
For
just good business right there.
yeah. For some years, Adolfo and his minions had been breaking into cemeteries in search of actual human bones,
Oh,
but eventually even these raids would not be sufficient. Adolfo had come a long way from reading tarot cards in the Zona Rosa by the year 1987. The large sums of money he was receiving from wealthy clients allowed him to purchase a brand new condo with a garage filled with high-end vehicles.
oh, nice.
He had also begun dealing himself for some illegal side income by utilizing his connections with the cops and the cartel. The Calzada family, who were in charge of one of the largest cartels in the country or county, I don't know, was Adolfo's most significant customer. They began the relationship between the Padrino and the merchants by casting protection spells for enormous sums of money. It's ridiculous.
Jessica,
What?
I'll cast a protection spell on you for $100,000.
Sick. I will give you a penny. Although I don't have pennies anymore, so I'll give you a nickel, which is 5 cents.
I yes, I know what a nickel is. We have nickels here too.
Yeah, but you also have pennies.
Yeah, you guys don't have pennies?
No, we haven't had pennies in years.
Oh, that's nice. Everybody just throws away pennies here.
Yeah, no, we just round up. We're
Nice.
down.
That's what we should do.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, go bad.
Adolfo became convinced that the Calzada's success was due to his black magic as they grew in power over time. So, logically, he demanded on being given a position of authority within the cartel. They rejected him,
Oh no.
and suddenly, 7 members of the Calzada family vanished.
Oh.
Guillermo Calzada and 6 members of his family mysteriously disappeared on April 30th. When they went missing on May 1st, the police discovered melted candles and other signs of an odd religious ritual in the Calzada's office. Before cops started retrieving dismembered corpses from the Zumpango River, 6 more days passed. 7 bodies were discovered over the course of a week, all of which bore signs of horrific torture,
Oh.
which included, so sorry, everybody, missing fingers,
Mm.
toes, ears, hearts, and sex organs.
Oh God.
One person had their spine torn out, and 2 others had their brains removed.
Oh my God. This is almost as bad as my anthill cult.
Yeah. It came out that the missing pieces had gone to feed Adolfo's blood cauldron, bolstering his power for upcoming battles of greater ferocity. An essential component of Palo Mayombe is this is the word I couldn't pronounce, N- Naganja or blood cauldron.
Ugh.
Worshippers consider that by adding bones and blood to an iron pot, they can conjure spirits to do their bidding. So kind of like, have you ever seen the Princess and the Frog?
Yes.
Yeah, it was kind of like the voodoo man,
Okay. Okay.
kind of like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is still unknown how many people Adolfo and his followers fed to their blood cauldron, but just 23 cases have been officially documented. But police suspect the cult may also be responsible for a number of mutilated remains discovered in the vicinity and during the Padrino's tenure there. Just awful.
That's awful.
Small-time criminals, Zona Rosa transvestites, or even people in Adolfo's own circle who disobeyed him were victims. Because most of the victims were from the society's seedier side, the killings went unreported,
Yeah.
and the precise number of deaths may never be known.
Mm.
Adolfo's devotees treated him like a god and didn't think twice about picking up victims or even dismembering one of their own. One night in 1989, when the Pied Piper of Death requested that an Anglo be sacrificed, they did not think twice about seizing one of the numerous American college students who had crossed the border from Texas during their spring break. The Padrino had gone too far this time because Mark Kilroy, who was the student they had kidnapped, was not a lone wanderer whose disappearance would go unnoticed. His friends and relatives informed officials in both the United States and Mexico, starting a huge manhunt that would ultimately result in Adolfo's capture. That April, when the Mexican police apprehended a small-time marijuana dealer, he took them to a small ranch where, as they had anticipated, they discovered a stash of drugs. Police were not prepared for the small, windowless building on the ranch's grounds that would subsequently be referred to as a human slaughterhouse.
Oh.
The horrifying, dismembered bodies of Kilroy and the others were interred in nearby shallow graves. They had unintentionally come across Adolfo's blood cauldron as well, which was still filled with fragments of his victims.
Frank. Oh. Oh.
The police set fire to the hut and invited a priest to conduct a purifying ritual. Before the Padrino's physical fall, the heart of his sinister powers was symbolically destroyed. A few weeks later, the Mexican government found him and surrounded him in his flat in Mexico City. Up until the very end, the cult leader managed to evade capture by ordering one of his loyal followers to shoot him. Adolfo entrusted his gun to cultist Alvaro de Leon Valdez, who was a professional hitman known as El Dubi, with with strange new instructions after realizing that escape was not possible. El Dubi quotes the incident as follows. He told me to kill him and Martin Quintana. I told him I couldn't do it, but he punched me in the face and said that if I didn't, hell would be so much worse for me.
Oh my gosh.
He then gave Martin a hug, and I simply stood in front of them and started firing a machine gun at them.
Wow.
Following the raid, 14 cult members were indicted on a number of charges, including multiple murders, possession of illegal weapons and drugs, conspiracy, and obstructing the administration of justice. El Dubi received a 30-year prison sentence after being found guilty of killing Constanzo and Quintana in August 1990. Both cultists, Juan Fragosa and Jorge Montes, received 35-year prison terms after being found guilty of the murder of Ramon Esquivel and Omar Orea, who had also been found guilty in the crime, passed away from AIDS before he could get his sentence.
Mm.
Despite being cleared of the murder of Adolfo, Sarah Aldrete was found guilty of criminal association and received a 6-year sentence. Near the end of her sentence, she had another 60 years tacked on once her trial finally went through. And that is the awful story of Adolfo Constanzo.
Yeah, that was pretty awful.
Pretty awful, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
the
No.
spine thing is
The thing that always gets me is like toes.
Oh, toes.
Toes and fingers is just gnarly to me. I don't know why.
The spine thing is a little.
Anyways, I have some jokes for you.
Oh, good.
Why shouldn't you visit an expensive wig shop?
I don't know why.
It's too high a price to pay. Do you get it?
I get it. Oh,
What lies at the bottom of the ocean and twitches?
I don't know what.
A nervous wreck.
Oh gosh.
Um, don't interrupt someone working intently on a puzzle. Chances are you'll hear some cross words.
Oh no.
And then finally, I asked my French teacher if she liked to play video games. She said, "Oui." Do you get it?
I get it. Oh my goodness. Oh, I meant to say, so apparently they were going to make a limited series based on your guy that you did,
Oh, really?
named, they were going to call it Brujo. Um,
Which
and
is
they,
wizard.
yeah, and they
Yeah.
started to development at
Or
HBO
I guess it could be
Max.
sorcerer, but
Yeah, they started development at HBO Max back in like 2020, and then like nothing ever happened with it. But yeah,
cool.
went to that. I liked your jokes though.
Thanks. Me too.
Well, if you want more of us lovely ladies, you can find us on his Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube
And Patreon.
and Patreon.
And if you would like to rate and review us, you can do so on Apple Podcast and Spotify.
Yeah. Yawning. I was yawning right when I had to say something, and so I was like trying to like hide it. Like, yeah.
Hey, Elmo.
Anyway, we look forward to bringing you two new stories next week.
Bye.
Bye.